This Wednesday, November 22nd, NBA Player Props edition of the Propcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Bet365. Bet365 is offering new customers a $1,000 risk-free bet. Sign up today at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/bet365. We're also brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com and use promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month and start making smarter bets today. Welcome, everyone, to the Propcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is Wednesday, November the 22nd, currently 12:20 on the East Coast. Here to get into our NBA player props for the Wednesday night schedule in the association. A huge slate of games here tonight for us to pick our player props on. We're going to give you the ones that we do like. Maybe I want to get Chris's opinion on some of the ones that we do like. We'll do our honorable mentions as well. Obviously, best bets as well. And then we'll put together our underdog fantasy entry for tonight as well. But join me. I got my guy here with me. He's rocking his Lakers hat, coming off of a huge win, or not a huge win, an easy win last night against the Jazz or the Lakers. But a big game tonight for them against Mavericks. But yeah, we'll get his opinion on that one as well. But it's my guy, Chris. Chris, what's going on, brother?
What's up? Like you said, big win it was kind of a big win because I think they're playing for that in-season tournament. I think teams were kind of like, just kind of looking at the in-season tournament like, if we win the first one, maybe we'll try a little harder in the second one. If we lose, cool, it'll be over. But the Lakers, put together back-to-back wins, and then they find themselves just having to beat the Utah Jazz. The Utah Jazz actually coming off a double overtime game against the Phoenix Suns the other day. So they were in a very, very good situation there, and they were able to get the job done, man. So I didn't make any money off the game last night. I actually put a little chump change on Jordan Clarkson to go over his points in the revenge game, and he absolutely got destroyed last night. I think he only finished with 7 points last night. So probably should have just bet the Lakers minus 7.5. The line was, high for a reason, but always excited to talk NBA. We, like you said, we got like 200 games today, so we got a lot to pick from, and I'm excited to get into it, man. Let's do it.
I think before we do get into it, Chris, we'd be remiss not to mention the absolute barn burner last night between the Pacers and the Hawks. I mean, if you're a same game parlay better or just a better of overs, like this was your dream game last night for you to not only put together a nice same game parlay, but also if you bet the over in this game, which I think a lot of the smarter gentlemen and or I don't say gentlemen, but people that I know in the betting industry were on the over here last night. And I mean, look, with 8 minutes and some change left in that fourth quarter, Chris, that game was already over the total. But I mean, the stars shined last night, right? Trae Young had a fantastic game. Tyrese Halliburton had a great game last night as well. But I was not glued into this game. I actually did watch probably the final 6 minutes of this game because I knew it was going to come down to the wire here, Chris. But what were your thoughts of the game last night? I don't know if you caught any of it.
Yeah, so I watched the first quarter. I watched the first half, and then at halftime I switched because the other games were coming on. The 8 o'clock games were coming on, and then I turned it back on. I watched a little bit of the third, and I did watch the end of the fourth quarter as well. You're right. Like the over. If you just wanted to make one bet yesterday, you just take the over. You don't even have to watch the game, and it cashes. Right? We're talking about like the Atlanta Hawks had 93 points in the third quarter, and it wasn't even over yet. So. This was a really, really good one. I saw a couple, $10 tickets. People cashed out big yesterday. Won $50,000 off a $10 ticket yesterday. Just taking the overs for Trae Young and, like you said, Tyrese Halliburton, and kind of putting them with Tyrese Maxey and in the other game, in the Philly game, and they also had Darius Garland in there. So like for all four of those players to score 30 was some really crazy odds last night. And this was the highest total. I went back and did some research, man. So this was the highest total, at least in the Killer Sports database, that we've ever seen in an NBA game. These two teams also had a total of 249 last season. And that game, I think, it went over as well. So it was also the most points scored collectively because they went over 300 yesterday in any game that wasn't an overtime game. So we got to see some history last night. And like you said, a lot of fireworks in that game, as we kind of expected. Pace being there, 3-point defense, atrocious for both sides. So yeah, it was exactly what we kind of thought it would be. And shame on me for not betting the over because it was just laying right in front of my eyes.
Yeah, I mean, this was pretty much a final score of what you see in an all-star game. When that, event happens. But yeah, I looked at the score at I think it was midway through the first quarter, and they had like 37 points combined. I was like, this shit is flying over. I don't even need to sweat this game. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that game from last night. Chris, let's get into our player props here for tonight. Here, my man. Why don't you lead us off?
Let's do it. So first one up. Actually got a couple unders I want to talk about, but we'll
Okay.
start with we'll actually start with an under. We'll go to Orlando, and I'm looking at Paulo Ventura specifically under his points, rebounds, and assist line. 30.5 is the number. You can get this at minus 105 on ESPN Bet. So not juiced at all. I love when I can get props close to even money, and I'm not having to lay too much. Paulo has been balling. Can't take anything away from him. I just don't like the spot for him in this situation. You look at the Denver Nuggets. They'll be the much more rested team, and Paulo's a younger guy, so maybe he didn't exert too much energy yesterday, but he has a really, really tough matchup against Aaron Gordon tonight. And you look at the Denver Nuggets side of things, they've actually not been playing a really good brand of basketball. They really struggled to score the ball. So I think they come in here and but what they have been doing is they've been playing some pretty good defense. I think they're under in 4 the last 5. So they're doing a good job of keeping their opponents under their team total, but they're also, not clicking on all cylinders offensively. So for Aaron Gordon, I'm sorry. So he gets the tough matchup against Aaron Gordon. Second leg of back-to-back, I mentioned that as well. He's faced Denver twice so far in his short career. He's actually stayed under this number in both, and it wasn't even too much of a sweat. I know Wendell Carter Jr. isn't there. I know Markel Folks who also missed this game, but I'm looking at some of those other guys to kind of step up. We know that the Orlando Magic are one of those teams that strength in numbers type team, right? Like a lot of those guys can have a big game. It could be Jalen Suggs. It could be either of the Wagner brothers. So they have plenty of guys that can contribute offensively, and I think Paolo has his hands full tonight with Aaron Gordon, another pretty big, strong, physical power forward that's going to be matched up to him. And Aaron Gordon is in a pretty good spot tonight as well for motivational purposes as well. So give me Paolo Ventura to go under his 30.5 points, rebounds, and assists here, man.
Yeah, I don't hate it, man. Again, it's when we talk about these player props, a lot of it's based off of matchups, right? And I think that, like you mentioned, with Aaron Gordon being back in Orlando, defensively, that's where the Denver Nuggets have to step up because they haven't been very good on the road thus far this season. And I think that if Denver is going to win this game, it's going to have to be on the defensive side of the basketball. And also, we talk about this Orlando Magic team as well. They are one of the better defensive teams in the entire league, and I think we've talked a lot about that, not only on the Propcast, but also on the NBA podcast as well. So, yeah, I do like this. I think this is going to be one of those rock fight type of games. I really do here tonight. All right, for my first player prop, I'm going to go over to that game between the first game of the night, or one of the first games of the night, the Washington Wizards and the Charlotte Hornets. I'm going to go over to a rebounding prop in this game. Looking at Mark Williams, starting center of the Charlotte Hornets, to go over 11.5 points here tonight. Or sorry, 11.5 rebounds here tonight. And number one, you take a look at this Washington Wizards team, right? And the theme has been just fading bad defenses. Like that's just been the story this season, right? Whether it's been the Spurs, whether it's been the Pacers, whether it's been the Hawks, whether it's been the Wizards, the Hornets, all those teams, the Pistons are even in that category. But when I went back and looked, number one, Chris, is that the Wizards are allowing the most rebounds to their opponents, and it's not even close. So they're allowing 51 rebounds to the opponents, and the next closest team that's not a very good rebounding team, the second worst team, Chicago Bulls, at 47.1 that they're giving up. So the Wizards are giving up 4 more rebounds per contest, and a lot of that may have to do with the pace that they also play with as well, right? So there may be more shots getting up and more opportunities for rebounds as well. But I like the spot here, number one, for Mark Williams, and just to expand a little bit more on the defense of the Washington Wizards against that center position in particular. So They are allowing the most rebounds to the center position are the Washington Wizards at 17.2 rebounds per game. That's collectively to that center position. Now let me talk about Mark Williams here. On the season, he's averaging 10 rebounds over the last 5 games, 10.2 rebounds. So 2 out of the last 3 games, he's had 16 plus rebounds, 16 rebounds exactly into the last 3 games for the Charlotte Hornets. Now you take a look at the matchup against the Washington Wizards in his career. So they matched up twice already earlier this season. And in one game, he only played 18 minutes, but he did grab 7 rebounds, did Mark Williams. But 2 days later, Chris, on November 10th, he played 30 minutes in that game against the Washington Wizards. He grabbed 24 rebounds in that game. He had 21 points and 24 rebounds. So I was on the fence about it a little bit, but I think what got me over the top here, Chris, is that now he's getting the minutes in this rotation with the Charlotte Hornets. Right, last 3 games he's played at least 30 plus minutes, and I think that's the key thing for me here. Is that if he's going to be out there 30 plus minutes, I think he can clear this number. So this one's at even money, where there's no vig on it, at 11.5 rebounds. I'm not saying he's going to get 24 rebounds again. If he does, that's great for our bet. But again, in a game where centers have dominated on the boards against the Wizards. And then for Mark Williams, number one, he got 24 rebounds in the earlier match of the season. And then 2 out of the last 3 games, he's had 16 rebounds overall. I like the spot here for Mark Williams. Give me over 11.5 rebounds here, Chris.
So, as you said that, I guess you're out here moving lines because it went from the even money at plus 100 on DraftKings to minus 105. So shout out to Munaf for doing that. And if you wanted, it might continue to move. So shout out to Munaf, the line mover. We'll call him. But I love it. If I actually got him down, and I'll just move right into my version of Mark Williams. I play this points plus rebounds, and it's for a lot of what you said, right? Like I think he is in a very advantageous matchup here against this Washington Wizards defense. And not only is it just the rebounding, like you said, but you look at Washington, they're also allowing the most points in the paint. They're giving up a bunch of points to centers, and specifically. He's been actually playing great. He's only played them 3 times in his career. I think you mentioned this. He's averaging 15 points, 14.7 points per game to go along with the 13 rebounds as well. So that's nearly 28 points plus rebounds in those 3 matchups. And like you said, in the most recent matchup, outside of him grabbing 24 rebounds, he also had 21 points in that game as well. I know Charlotte's coming off an overtime game against the Boston Celtics, but against the Washington Wizards, man, what are we like? We no way we could play that over. We talk about this system play a lot, when we're talking about, looking at total specifically. So these 2 teams did match up less than 2 weeks ago, and the total in this game opened higher than their previous total. We know that those games typically go over at close to 60%. So I think that leads to a lot more offense. Both of these teams are going to want to play fast. They both are playing pretty fast, and they both don't play a ton of defense. So plenty of opportunity for Mark Williams to go out here and dominate. He might not get the 24 rebounds like you said, but he probably finish with 18, and that'll make both of us happy.
Yeah. Look, I'm not gonna argue against her. I think this is a good just spot here for Mark Williams here tonight. So hopefully he doesn't let us down here, Chris. All right, before we get over to the next player props for the Wednesday night schedule, let me tell everyone about Bet365, and we can get down on these player props. That's over at Bet365. Bet365 is the world's favorite sportsbook, trusted by over 88 million players worldwide. Props, sides, totals, live betting, Bet365 has you covered. And if you like Boost, you're going to love Bet365, like a 30% profit boost on your NFL same game parlay. Plus, they even have an early payout offer if your team goes up by 17 points. Sign up today and choose from 2 bonus offers, either a $1,000 no sweat bet or bet $5 and get 150 in bonus bets. Just head to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/bet365. Again, that's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/bet365, or sign up with Bet365 with the link in our show bio. Problem gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, Chris, let's get over to our next player props here, my man. Why don't you, you also had Mark Williams, right?
Yes, I'm on Mark Williams, points plus rebounds at 25.5.
All right. So I'll go over to my second one here. There's a lot that I like here tonight, Chris. Let me tell everyone about Bet365. Bet365 is the world's favorite sportsbook, trusted by over 88 million players worldwide. Props, sides, totals, live betting, Bet365 has you covered. And if you like Boost, you're going to love Bet365, like a 30% profit boost on your NFL same game parlay. Plus, they even have an early payout offer if your team goes up by 17 points. Sign up today and choose from 2 bonus offers, either a $1,000 no sweat bet or bet $5 and get 150 in bonus bets. Just head to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/bet365. Again, that's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/bet365, or sign up with the link in our show bio. Problem gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. So I'll go over to my second one here.
Take your time, take your time.
Let's see here. I think we're gonna be talking. This might turn into an hour pod here, Chris. I'm gonna take up your time here today. But let's go over to the Boston Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks game here tonight. Obviously, we know Drew Holiday is going up against his former team. We know he's one of the better two-way defenders in the entire league, if not one of the best, if not the best in my eyes. I think this is a value play. Anytime I see Drew Holiday steals and blocks combined at plus money, Chris, I'm going to take that to the bank every single time. More than likely, and I want to get your opinion on this as well, he'll probably be matched up on Dame here tonight, right, Chris? Yeah. All right.
I would think so. Yes.
Yeah. And so I think, again, we talk about revenges and things like that. I think that kind of buys into the narrative as well. But again, I know Drew Holiday hasn't gotten to those steals and blocks consistently this season. He did have 2 blocks and 1 steal against the Hornets in the last game. And then you kind of have to go back against the Sixers, where he had 2 blocks and the steal again. But I think that he'll be able to put the clamps down on a guy like Damian Lillard in this game. I wanted to back his points here tonight, but that just didn't make sense to me. I think that he'll be more effective on the defensive side of the basketball here tonight. And we know throughout his career, not only time with the Milwaukee Bucks, but when he was with the Pelicans as well, that he was a guy that, again, takes pride on the defensive side of the basketball. And I think in this game, especially when it means a lot, maybe down the road further in the season when we talk about seeding, that they'll look back at this head-to-head matchup and be like, all right, we should have taken care of business in that game. And I think that there's an opportunity for both these teams to make that statement here tonight. But I feel like that Drew Holiday, going up against his former team here tonight, where I don't know what the exact truth is, but I think his wife came out and said that there wasn't even a heads up from the Milwaukee Bucks organization about Drew Holiday getting traded, right? And don't quote me on it. That's just what I read. But I think that he'll be ready here tonight. I think he'll be both effective on the offensive side of the basketball, but I think more importantly on the defensive side here as well. So Drew Holiday right now, points and steals combined at 1.5. That's at plus 114 the last time I saw it. Let me get an updated number here for this game. Still at plus 114. So Chris, I'm going to take Drew Holiday over 1.5 steals and blocks combined against his former team.
Yeah, this just feels like classic NBA sports books not taking the narrative into account, especially if they're gonna give you plus money for him. Like you mentioned, this was a situation where not only did he not find out, that nobody in the organization, came to tell him that he was going to be traded, but we got to remember that there was a video surfacing, the web also, where Drew Holiday was talking about how he wanted to retire a Milwaukee Buck. He always wanted to be there. So, yeah, I mean, you talk about extra added motivation on the defensive end. I think we're going to see that. And I think, one of the reasons why the Boston Celtics lost their last game, we can take into consideration is the potential look ahead spot to this big game. They lost to, as they were laying double digits in their game to the Charlotte Hornets and went to overtime and still couldn't get the job done.
Yeah.
And now you get a fired up, that's just even extra motivation added. So yeah, Drew Holiday should be in, for 40 plus, 35 to 40 plus minutes tonight, and have a big game on the offensive end, defensive end, in my opinion.
Yeah, and also I think that Jason Tatum is questionable here tonight with an illness. He popped up on the injury report. So I think that if Tatum doesn't play here tonight, you'll probably see extensive minutes from Drew Holiday here tonight. All right, Chris, take us over to your next player prop, man. What do you got?
So let's go to the Indiana Pacers game. They will be back home, flying back from Atlanta last night, and they'll be taking on Toronto Raptors, who were in Orlando last night. I think this is a sneaky one, but Jakob Poeltl, I'm looking at his rebounds to go under 8.5. Okay. The number dropped from 9.5, and it's what I kind of capped it at earlier. It was already minus 120, but a lot of money come in to push this all the way down to 8.5. But you can get it at plus money right now, plus 110 on DraftKings the last time I checked. And it's a matchup thing, like I was, on my show yesterday, I was talking about, somebody asked me about Clint Capella double-double, and I said, man, I don't really know about Clint Capella double-double just because he's going to be stretched far away from the rim guarding a guy like Miles Turner. We know the Pacers like to run inside out, right? They like to run, out, just 4 out, right? So they typically just has Halliburton in, pick and roll situation. Everybody kind of spreads the floor. That doesn't bode well for big men who like to stay underneath the rim to collect rebounds. And, just going back to that game yesterday, I didn't take Clint Capella under his rebounds, but he finished the game with 5 or 6 rebounds yesterday, And I think that we could see something similar, in this game versus, Jakob Poeltl as well. So tough matchup against, Miles Turner, who loves to space the floor and pull him away from the rim. He's only had, I went back and looked at the numbers, he's played against the Pacers 14 times in his career. He averages just 5.6 rebounds in those games. He's had double-digit rebounds in just one game, right? And then I specifically against Miles Turner, I wanted to see, maybe Miles Turner wasn't in for all of those games. So out of those 14 games, 11 of them actually came against Miles Turner. He averages 6.6 rebounds in those games. He's 10-1 to the under on his 8.5 rebounds. Only one time he had over 10. He had 13, but all the other games, 4, 3, 5, 6. So I think we're still getting some value. Even if you take the 8.5 and go under there, I think Jakob Poeltl to go under his rebounds is a very, very sneaky look, and a guy that may not be on the floor, So give me Jakob Poeltl to go under his 8.5 rebounds at plus 110 on DraftKings. Love that plus money.
Exactly, was going to mention that he might just be played off the floor here tonight. Like you mentioned with the matchup against Miles Turner. So, I do like this here as well. Again, like you mentioned, I think that the Clint Capella example is just absolutely fantastic in this game here for Jakob Poeltl. So, I'm with you on this here as well. I'll stay in the same game. So if Jakob Poeltl's not going to get the rebounds here, I think that guy's going to be Scotty Barnes here tonight. I'm going to take his PRA over 31.5 here for tonight. And on the season, I think that Scotty Barnes is just having a fantastic season, right? He's averaging close to 20 points per game, 8.9 rebounds, and close to 6 assists per game. And again, you talk about this matchup here tonight, that it'll be interesting to see which team dictates the pace here tonight, because again, with the Indiana Pacers coming off of the game yesterday against the Atlanta Hawks, I mean, that was from the tip-off, it was at a speed of 100. And I know traditionally the Raptors don't really play at a fast pace, and I'm trying to pull up what exactly they are at as far as pace this season. So Toronto, they are I want to say the 7th or 8th slowest team in the association here tonight, but I still think that they can have some success on the offensive side here. But I think that's going to be really dictated by Scotty Barnes here tonight. So his PRA is at 31.5 in this game. His last matchup against the Indiana Pacers, he had 26 points, 8 rebounds, and 23 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists. And I think now for this offense for the Toronto Raptors, like Scotty Barnes is that focal point. He's the guy that gets, the offensive initiated. He's an excellent rebounder. He can score the basketball at all 3 levels. So I think there's an opportunity here tonight that, because I think that the pace will be higher, nothing not really similar to what we saw last night. Obviously, that was just at a different level. But I feel like offensively, the Raptors will have some success in this game here tonight. So them coming off of a loss as well against the Magic, a 19-point blowout that they did suffer. Having a night off, they played last night. I'm sorry. So in a back-to-back situation here, I think that's a good spot here for Scotty Barnes. So I'm looking at his PRAs, Chris, to go over 31.5 here tonight.
Couple things, So you talked about dictating pace. The Pacers have not allowed anybody to dictate pace against them. They just go super fast. They don't care if they miss. They don't care if they make. They don't care if you miss. They don't care if you make. I see them. I saw them last night. True story. I saw them last night running a 5-1-0 fast break during a timeout drill. So no, I'm just kidding. They weren't doing that. But this team is flying up and down the court. One of the things I looked at was the Pacers. Just looking at just kind of handicapping the game. They fail to go under throughout the entire season yet. Like they just go super fast. So I say that to say that if Scotty Barnes does not have a big game, against a tired legs team, that was in a game that combined for 300 points last night. Meanwhile, they were getting blown out, and he was sitting on the sideline in the fourth quarter. If he doesn't do that, they're gonna get blown out again tonight. So Scotty Barnes should be in. He's another guy that's in a pretty advantageous matchup. That I would only play the over on, and I'm probably gonna end up tailing you there. I see 31.5 on ESPN bet at -120 right now. So for our listeners, I think that's the best number I see, But yeah, love Scotty Barnes to go over his points, rebounds, and assists tonight. Should be a big spot for him, and it kind of correlates with the Jakob Poeltl to go under as well, because they'll probably need to play a little bit smaller to try to keep up with this Indiana Pacers team.
Yep, I agree. All right, so that's 3 player props each. Let's get into some honorable mentions here. Chris, anything that jumped out to you?
Man, this is the show, where we're 26 minutes in. This is where we continue for at least another 45 minutes, right? But no, I'll be quick. Couple that really stick out to me. So one, I really like Luka tonight. I think Luka's in a really good, advantageous matchup against the Lakers. We know that they, typically struggle against guards. I want to say Luka's, 2 for 3 in his last 3 games against the Lakers, even though one of those last ones did go to overtime last season. But I just like backing, I like backing Luka off a couple losses. This team has lost. They were in a, pretty bad travel spot the other day against the Sacramento Kings, and they were called out again. And, just kind of, just 2 teams kind of going in opposite directions. I think Luka brings this team back to life. I don't know if they stop the Lakers, but I do think that they'll keep up. Total 237, I want to say, and the numbers only going up. He's at 30.5, but we know when Luka scores points, it's typically 35 to 40. So I do feel like it's, a bit of a discount. I don't see how they're going to match up, putting Lively on AD. The Lakers are, top 5, top 10 in pace, even though LeBron James is like 220 years old. He's still flying up and down the floor. So I like Luka a lot tonight, at over 30.5 points. The other one, your boy, hadn't really paid attention too much to this. Fred VanVleet. His assists, 8.5. I mean, he's been crushing the number for people who, aren't paying attention to that. He has had a 14 assist game against Golden State, 16 assist game against my Los Angeles Lakers. And I would argue that both of those teams are better defensively than this Memphis Grizzlies team. Against the Clippers, 10 assists. He did have a dud in there against the Denver Nuggets where he only had 4 and 8 against the Pelicans, but 10 assists before that to the Lakers, and 12 and 11 assist game against Sacramento and Charlotte as well. So, just kind of looking at his numbers, Fred VanVleet's been, kind of killing it. He also has a 9 assist game against Memphis. It was a couple years ago, but he hadn't played against this Memphis team in quite a while outside of the 7 assist game that he had with the Toronto Raptors. That team, I think, was playing even slower than this Houston Pace team today. So I like your boy Fred VanVleet tonight, and I'll just stop there because I could just keep going. But those are the 2 honorable mentions that I'll throw out.
Going off of the Fred VanVleet, what you mentioned here, Chris, I mean, you take a look at his game log. What really stands out to me is the assists. Yeah, 100% agree. But look at the minutes that he's playing as well. 5 straight games where he's played 40-plus minutes for the Houston Rockets team. And hopefully it's not a blowout here tonight. Because, again, I think there'll be a realm where he does play 40-plus minutes. I had a sneaky prop in this game here as well. We could probably talk through this here as well as an honorable mention here, Chris. So you take a look at the injury report, number 1, for this Memphis Grizzlies team. It's not very good, right? A lot of guys are injured for this team. So I was looking at Sandy Aldama at his rebounds here tonight. It's at 7.5 at plus 125, Chris. And so 2 things here is that we just talked about the minutes that Fred VanVleet's playing. That's probably a coach decision. But for Aldama, it's the fact that he has to be out there because this team is just so decimated by injuries, right? So the last 2 games, he's played 36 minutes and 39 minutes for the Memphis Grizzlies, and he's had double-digit rebounds in both of those games. Right now, I see his rebounds at 7.5 at plus 125. I think there's some huge value on that, especially at plus odds for him to have at least 8 rebounds in this game. It's probably going to be something similar, at least for a minutes allocation, that he's going to have to play 30 minutes plus minutes here tonight against this Rockets team. And I'm also trying to find the rebounding numbers here for the Rockets. I know they've been pretty good defensively, actually really good defensively, have the Rockets, but let me see what they're doing, at least rebounding wise. But so they are, they're a little bit below league average in opponent rebounds per game. So I think this is a sneaky spot here for Aldama. If you want to ladder this up to double digits here tonight, I think I saw that close to 3-1 for him. But I really do like Sandy Aldama on his rebounds here tonight, especially at plus money here, Chris.
Yeah, and you kind of perfect segue to what I was going to mention. If he's had the double-double, in the last couple games, he really balled out. I watched that game against Boston. I was on Boston in that game minus 7.5 because it was a bad travel spot in his last game when they were coming back home after they came back from 18 points to beat the San Antonio Spurs and then hung with the Boston Celtics, who had the day off before that. So Aldama, really put it to, a much better defensive team, I think, in the Boston Celtics, although you can't take away anything from Houston because Houston has been balling. But that double-double, plus 360 over on Bet Rivers right now. I do see DraftKings has it at 320. And it looks like Caesars has it available right now at plus 325. So maybe even a sprinkle on Santi Aldama. I think that's a really good call. Maybe a sprinkle on Santi Aldama, like you said, just based on minutes. I mean, if they see an athletic fan in the stands, they might see if they can get a physical and hop on the team because they are riddled with injuries right now. So I'm right there with you.
Yeah. So that was one that stuck out to me. I think that was it as of right now. What I've dug into that I wanted to mention on the pod here. You have any more that you want to throw out here, Chris, before we get to the best bets?
We could talk. We can keep going. We could. There's another revenge narrative out there, and that would be Mr. Dylan Brooks, who said that, who just recently came out and said that, the Grizzlies are like that team that broke up with their girlfriend that didn't get that wants the girl back. Or I'm paraphrasing. You can go check out the quote specifically, but I do think that he's going to be really fired up for this matchup. He had a really good game against my Los Angeles Lakers the other day, and they kind of need that scoring, especially when you think about a guy like Desmond Bain and Marcus Smart kind of holding down those guards. So I think that, Dylan Brooks is, it's all up for me with him, and I know you probably been watching him probably a tad bit more than I have throughout the season, but if he's making shots, then he's going to cash the prop, right? And I'm thinking specifically his points prop, because the wide open looks will be there. We just talked about, I think it correlates with Fred VanVleet assists. So Dylan Brooks at 10.5 right now on DraftKings at minus 135, 11.5 in a lot of places as well. You can get him for plus money, but I like the spot for Dylan Brooks as well. Didn't quite get there and pull the trigger, but could not talk anybody off. Maybe taking him up to 15 in the spot.
Would you just take his threes over 1.5 at plus 105?
There you go. I think that's probably the better play because he's been getting them up. I don't know what that number is specifically, how many he's been shooting. Do you have his game log pulled up, But
yeah,
I think that's the look.
I was looking at it earlier. Give me a second here. Dylan Brooks. So he had 5 against the Warriors attempts. He made 2 of those. He had 11 against the Lakers. He made 6 of those. But then prior to that, it was only 2, 3, and then 1 against the Clippers, the Denver Nuggets, and the Pelicans. But let me take a look.
I think real quick, I think there's some correlation in those 3-point attempts and how much he doesn't like his opponent. He hates the Lakers. They put him out last year, of course. There's the beef with LeBron James, so he shoots 11. And then, of course, the Memphis Grizzlies, when he was on that team, he really couldn't stand Steph Clay and, the history that happened between Memphis and Golden State when he was a part of that Memphis team. So, getting up 16 attempts in the last 2 games, no way, especially coming back home playing in your home gym. Yeah, no way I'd be able to fade Dylan Brooks. I'm writing it down. I'm probably going to end up adding his threes and just stay away from the points.
So Memphis is allowing the most 3-pointers made to their opponents this season at 15.5.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And then their attempts, they are allowing 37.5, and then their shooting percentage that they're allowing at 41.5 is the worst in the league. So they're allowing the most makes, and they're allowing the worst 3-point percentage as well. So at plus 105 for Dylan Brooks, I think it's an opportunity here for him to get over this number. And I think that, Chris said, I think that if he does get over his points, probably it's because he's knocking down the 3-point shot. So I'll play that over 1.5.
I think I'm a ladder, I think I'm gonna take the 2, and I think I'm gonna take the 3 too.
Let me see what it is. It's at.
What do you see the plus 105 at? What book was that?
That's at DK.
DK, okay.
Let me see on Bet365 because a lot of times I get the better odds.
The milestones, there. Yeah.
The milestones as well. Let's see here. So threes. Dylan Brooks, even money. I mean, it's around even money plus 105. So again, for him, but his milestone. Dylan Brooks, 3 made threes at plus 330, 4 is at plus 750, and if you want to go up to 5, 14-1. Just 2 games ago against the Lakers, he was 6 of 11.
Yes, he will be letting those things fly.
Yeah, I think so too. Especially like we mentioned, like the 3-point defense has not been very good for the Grizzlies thus far this season. So I think there's an opportunity there for sure. Um, I think that is. Yeah, I didn't have any more that I wanted to mention, but maybe Dinwiddie assist might be a sneaky look here tonight as well. Here, Chris. I'm trying to see if that number has been posted for.
He should, getting the tired defense. I talked about this one earlier. I'm on Brooklyn's team total to go over 115 and
Yeah.
a half tonight. But yeah, I mean, this just kind of makes sense. You're getting to land on the second leg of a back to back. They'll be exhausted after, being in the game with 300 points yesterday. And,
Mhm.
I also like it that, I think they take this game serious just because they're coming off back to back losses. They got mollywopped. They got smacked against the at home against the Philadelphia 76ers on Sunday. So they have had a couple of days to kind of digest that loss, and still no Ben Simmons there, so he'll have the ball in his hands for a majority of the time. So no way I could talk you off of that one either, not even knowing what the number is. If I like that.
Claxton rebounds also. I was looking at here. It's at 8.5 at minus 140, but 3 straight games against the Hawks, he's had double digit rebounds 10, 11, and 12. So I'll
Okay.
throw that one out there as well. All right, Chris.
Spencer Dinwiddie 7.5. I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a lot of juice. I see a minus 104 on
Hmm.
FanDuel for folks that are interested. Like it.
Yeah. I mean, especially with no Ben Simmons and the amount of assists I think the Hawks are giving up to the point guard position as well. I know he's only done it once over the last 5 games. Has Spencer Dinwiddie, but let me see how he's done against the Hawks.
Number high for a reason. If I like it.
So last couple games here 13, 8, 13, 10, 7, 8, and 12 as far as assists go for Spencer Dinwiddie. All right. Chris, let's do our best bets and then we'll put together an underdog fantasy entry here for tonight. What do you want to go with for your best bet?
Man, it's so much to choose from. I feel like
I
you're asking me
know.
to pick my favorite kid. And I only have one, but I think I like Mark Williams more than anything else tonight. I think just kind of looking at the matchup, the only thing that scares me even just a tad bit is the foul trouble. But as long as he stays out of foul trouble, I don't see Washington really putting a lot of pressure, getting down here and putting a lot of pressure on the rim. So I think Mark Williams can stay out of foul trouble, and dominate little Daniel Gafford and the rest of those guys that they have in Washington. So give me Mark Williams over his 25 and a half points plus rebounds. Last game he had 45 combined. So hopefully he can do that again, and maybe we can cash this at halftime. But I like that one a lot. I really love all my props tonight, honestly. Jakob Pertl, I think maybe finished with 5 rebounds. So I love the under 8.5 as well. So give me a double best bet. Give me Mark Williams to go over 25 and a half points plus rebounds, and give me Jakob Pertl to go under his 8.5 rebounds as well at plus 110 over on DraftKings. So I'll have a double best bet today.
There you go. I'll double down with you, man. I really like Mark Williams here tonight as well. I think it's a great matchup. I'm going to take the over 11.5 rebounds for him. Um, if he wants to get up to 24 rebounds again, I'm definitely with that. But I think that, again, this is a good spot here for Mark Williams. I like the over on his rebounds. And since we're in the Thanksgiving giving mood here, Chris, I'll give Aldama over 7.5 rebounds plus 125. If you want to ladder this up to plus 295 for his rebounds again to double digits, or even his double market here tonight as well. That's better odds here against the Rockets. So I think there's an opportunity for you to put the a nice same game parlay with Dylan Brooks, with Sandy Aldama, and Fred VanVleet assist here tonight as well. That's something that we really did like. So, you know what? We'll also give out a same game parlay here, Chris. So, I mean, it's Thanksgiving. We're in the giving mood here. Let's just put that together
Let's do
here.
it. Let's do it.
All right. So let's see here. Same game parlay, Memphis Grizzlies and the Houston Rockets. All right. So we will go. Let's start with, does it give an assist ladder? Oh, yeah, it does. All right. So let's do 10 plus assists for Fred VanVleet. Let's do Sandy Aldama alt rebounds. Let's see, where is he at? Alt rebounds. I'm going to take that up to 10 at plus 320. And then Dylan Brooks. Okay, let's take it up to 3, Chris. All right, 33-1 here. So Fred VanVleet, 10 plus assists. Sandy Aldama, 10 plus rebounds. And Dylan Brooks, 3 or more 3-pointers made here tonight. That's going to get you 33-1.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Brooks,
There you
3
go.
threes. Cynthia
Brooks, 3
Aldama, 10
threes.
rebounds.
And
And
Fred
Fred
VanVleet, 10
VanVleet, 10
plus
assists.
assists. Yeah.
I love it.
All right. Before we get out of here, let's do our Underdog Fantasy entry here for tonight. Again, go over to underdogfantasy.com. Make sure you use that promo code SGPN. For new users, you get a 100% deposit bonus of up to $100, but only if you use that promo code SGPN. And again, if you haven't already signed up, I do not know what you are waiting for here tonight. So, Chris, outside of our best bets, I know you said you liked a lot of them. Give me something outside of your best bets that you want to put together for our Underdog Fantasy entry here tonight.
Paulo Banchero. That was the other
right.
guy that I like. I like his under tonight. I think he's in a very tough matchup. He won't be able to pick on Aaron Gordon the way that he was able to pick on, some of those defenders in Toronto last night. Like, this is going to be force with force. And I didn't mention this earlier, but going through and looking at his game log, this number is trended up just because he has been playing so well, but he hasn't been cashing 30 and a half. Like, he has not been getting too many games, out of his last 5 games. I want to say only 2 of them he's gone over this points, rebounds, and assist number. So I think the rebounds will be down because Denver's a pretty good defense, rebounding team. And like I said, he's just in a very, very tough matchup tonight. So a sell high spot for Paulo Banchero under 30 and a half points, rebounds, and assists for me tonight.
All right, so we'll go Paulo lower 30 and a half points, rebounds, and assists. I'll take the higher on Scotty Barnes PRA 32. And then I think we both like Luka here tonight. So we'll take the higher on his points, 30 and a half against the Lakers here tonight. All right, so Paulo Banchero lower 30 and a half points, rebounds, and assists. Scotty Barnes, 32 points, rebounds, and assists higher. And Luka Doncic, 30 and a half points here tonight against the Lakers. We'll go higher on that. That $100 entry will get you a nice return of $600 if all 3 of those come into fruition here tonight for the Wednesday night card. All right, that is going to do it for this edition of the Propcast here, NBA player props here. Chris, anything else you want to mention, my man, before we get out of here?
Nah, man, enjoy the games, man. It's plenty of good hoops action. I know I'll be locked in tonight. Triple screens if I can get all of them up and running, because there's a lot to watch, man, a lot to keep up with as well. But as always, I always say the same thing, man. Make sure you're betting responsibly. Enjoy the games, and just cash some tickets. Definitely check my workout on over on Twitter at Crispy Captain 2 P's 2 N's. That's all I got, man. Best of luck to everybody tonight.
Yeah, man, enjoy the games here tonight. A little Thanksgiving Eve NBA action here tonight. So a lot of games on the schedule. Bet responsibly. Hopefully we can put some more money in your guys' pockets here for tonight. All right. You can follow me on Twitter as well at SportsNerd824. We also did knock out our Thanksgiving Day NFL player props edition of the Propcast. So make sure you check that out as well. And again, like I mentioned, bet responsibly and enjoy the games. And again, happy Thanksgiving for myself and Chris and everybody here at SGPN as well. Enjoy the game, enjoy the food, bet responsibly. We'll talk to you guys down the road. Till then, good luck with your bets. Let's break these books off and let it ride.